Hi everyone, and welcome to another in-season video review. In this video review, we will begin with a few reminders as well as a rules review before moving to a video replay where I'll be joined by Chuck Eakes, Supervisor of Officials for the Northwest Basketball Officials Association. Before we get into the plays, a few reminders. Postseason is here for many leagues, and in the postseason, stakes are greatly increased for players, coaches, and officials. Just as coaches and players require their very best this time of year, so do we as officials. Late in the season, we've worked a lot of games. It's important to take care of your bodies. You don't want to miss out on that postseason assignment for a health concern, although it does happen. So, just a reminder to stay hydrated, stretch before and after games, do what you need to do this time of year to stay healthy so that you can finish the season on a high note. And finally, as all of our seasons eventually come to an end, just a reminder that it's a great time to set goals for the next season. So maybe you finish up with the second round playoff assignment. Maybe you want your goal for next season to be a third round or a regional. Now is the time to set that goal, but also put a plan in place to achieve that goal. Start thinking about what you might want to do over the summer to improve. Are there types of plays you want to work on improving your call accuracy on in the off season? Are there camps you want to attend, whether at the high school or collegiate level, to help yourself improve? This is the time of year to start thinking about that and start making those goals, and creating the plans to get there for next year. In the upcoming video review, we're going to look at a play which involves a potential intentional foul. So just a quick review, Rule 419, Article 3 defines an intentional foul. An intentional foul is a personal or technical foul that may or may not be premeditated and is not based solely on the severity of the act. Intentional fouls include, but are not limited to, A, contact that neutralizes an opponent's obvious advantageous position, B, contact away from the ball with an opponent who is clearly not involved with a play, C, contact that is not a legitimate attempt to play the ball or player, D, excessive contact with an opponent while the ball is live or until an airborne shooter returns to the floor, and finally E, contact with a thrower in, as in Rule 9-10, Penalty 4. It's helpful when we're processing these plays, and in fact, the way the NCAA men's rules are structured is it thinks of these fouls as unnecessary or excessive, right? So the first three bullet points here really deal with contact that is unnecessary. D deals with contact that is excessive. So as we start to think about processing intentional foul plays, a good sort of question to have in the back of your mind is, was the contact unnecessary or excessive? And if you determine that it was either of those, then you could indeed end up with an intentional foul. So, with all that in mind, Chuck Eakes will now be joining me for a review of a play from a recent game.
Quinn Morris and I are back together to give some commentary on a clip that I've looked at that I thought was very, very interesting. Quinn and I decided to get back together on this because we've missed each other desperately, and this was just a great opportunity for us to get back together again. So, and I know y'all have missed us also. So here we are. Quinn, thanks for doing this with me. This is a play from a film that I had a chance to take a look at, and I felt like this particular play was extremely interesting from a number of standpoints, and one that I feel like if we review it as a staff for the NBOA staff, that it could be helpful to us as we get through the final stages of this season and then plug into the high school summer league season. So Quinn, I think probably the best thing to do here is just let's run it through from beginning to end and let everybody take a look at it, and then we'll start breaking it down. Is that all right?
Sounds good. Here we go.
Excellent. So that's pretty much what I wanted everybody to see, and now we'll start it over and break it down. We're going to talk first of all about uh, where the whistle came from, where the whistle could have come from, positioning of the officials. This is a great job by the slot official picking this foul up late. Uh, it was a tough play for him to pick up because, as you'll see, he's got a shooter that he in his primary that a defender was closing out on, so he had to stay with that play, and he doesn't get to the foul until the end of the play, as you'll see. But Quinn, why don't you take it from there, and I'll try to keep my mouth shut here for a couple minutes.
Yeah, so I think this Cruz to be committed. This is, I think, really good initial position. We obviously have a high ball screen here. The trail, maybe is a step above the 28, step or two above the 28-foot mark, and maybe a step or so out on the court. But as we can see, we have sort of the same angle here as he does. He has a great look on this side of the screen. The slot is at or maybe slightly above the free throw line extended here, again, to provide help on this side of the screen. And the lead official here is in a nice wide position. Everybody else is spread across the court, so there's no need for the lead to be closed down. Nice wide position. This is a really nice initial position on this play. What we want to look at here then is, as this play develops and as it progresses, how does our positioning then also progress? So as two comes around the screen, it's effectively out of the trail's primary at this point, right? We're going to have a drive down the opposite side from the trail, free throw lane line. So as soon as this happens, we want the trail, and the trail does start closing down, right? We need to anticipate a potential rebounding action. And lead has taken, maybe, if we back up a little bit, takes about a step to close down. That's probably okay. Maybe unnecessary here, but probably not a problem at this point. So we have the drive to the basket. We have a nice verticality play here. So we have a verticality play here, and then the ball gets tipped out. Now, the second the ball gets tipped out, we have to anticipate, the whole crew has to anticipate this three-point shot. I mean, this guy's wide open. Okay. And probably you've seen him earlier in the game. I mean, he's a shooter, right? So this guy's gonna shoot. As soon as this happens, we need to start thinking about a couple things. One is, slot has to referee this shooter up and down, because we have to be prepared for a late closeout here. I mean, right now there's no one. The closest person to him is in the lane. Okay. So if anybody's going to come, it's going to be a late closeout, right? And we can see one is coming hard on the late closeout. So the slot has to referee that. That is all that we as a crew can expect the slot to referee. For the trail and the lead, that means we've got to handle all of the rebounding action. Okay. Now, for the most part, other than two, everybody else is right here in the center of the lane. Okay. So this isn't a situation where, what is it they've started calling them, where you have rebounding missiles. You don't have a bunch of guys coming from the perimeter crashing the boards, right? It's mostly clogged up in the lane here. So we've got to identify, who those players are. So you can see, it's a little hard to see, but right down here at the bottom, the slot official the trail official takes a couple steps down, probably mostly to help clear number 3. Okay, but that's good. We're fighting for angles. I think one place we make a mistake here is in the lead. We actually close down another step, but because of that, we're actually mostly looking at backs here. Okay. I think if we back up a little bit, right, if we had in the lead, this whole possession stayed exactly where we started, we probably would have been in pretty good position. if here we had stayed, we would have been in good position. But the lead, if you watch the lead, when the ball gets kicked out, he closes down another step. So I think it's a situation where we sort of progressively walk ourselves out of a good position in lead. So that means that when we have 5 wrap up this player, okay, it doesn't seem like anybody's really looking at it. I think the trail might actually be sort of looking at 10 here. And 10, while a rebounder, is not involved in any competitive rebounding matchup. So we can, yeah, we have 10 in our peripheral, but we don't really need to focus too hard on what's happening with 10. And I say that because you actually see the trail's head actually turns back to the play right as these 2 players end up on the floor. The lead has closed down enough that I think he really doesn't have much of an angle, especially as this play develops initially, and maybe is looking more at 32's back than anything else. Okay. Thankfully, we do have, the slot works incredibly hard here to both see this play up and down and also recognize that a foul has occurred. Okay. Now the next question becomes, this is a hard foul. This is an atypical hard foul. Our antennas immediately have to go up that this is something we need to talk about. Okay, whether we might want to consider upgrading it, or even the slot here probably has some idea that he picked this play up late and he didn't see the whole thing. So we need to we need to get together and have a discussion about what occurred here. Chuck, do you want to talk a little bit then about the process from here?
Yeah, I'll step in, and that was great, and I really applaud the slot official for having a whistle on this play. I was a little bit surprised and one of the things that piqued my interest about this particular play, and the reason why I want to clip it is, I was surprised that we only had one whistle on this play, and I was surprised that the one whistle came from where it came from. That was great officiating by the slot. Normally I would have expected this whistle to have come from somewhere else on this particular type of play. Do you agree with that, Quinn?
I agree. Yes.
Okay. So having said that, again, where we're looking and what our position is really, really important on every play. This particular play, and there can be a difference of opinion, and there has been, because we've shipped this out to some different people, as to whether or not this should have been upgraded to an intentional foul. And I will tell you that I'll start off my part of the conversation by saying, just laying it out on the line and getting it off the table. I believe this should have been upgraded to an intentional foul. And Quinn and I'll talk a little bit more about why in just a minute, but the calling official clearly recognizes the fact that he picked this play up late. So he's not exactly sure at what level this foul should be placed. Intentional, common, flagrant, dumb. Did something cause, what happened here? What actually happened from beginning to end? Does anybody know? So he does do exactly what I would like for us to do as standard operating procedure as a NBOA varsity staff. On a play like this, we should always, and unless he immediately goes with intentional foul, we should come together. I can tell you that the coach for White signaled immediately that he wanted an intentional foul on this play. And in a case like that, when you got bodies on the floor like this, like Quinn said, an atypical type foul, it's not what you normally see in a basketball game. Coaches, players are looking for an intentional foul. Let's get together as a crew, get away from the players, which they semi do here, and let's communicate. Now, the level of communication it has to be real communication. So if I were the slot official, what I want the slot official to do is to come in and say, hey, guys, this didn't look good to me. This looked pretty bad, but I didn't see the whole play. I know I picked it up late. Did anybody in the crew have a good look at this play? And do we have an opinion as to whether we should upgrade this to an intention, or to upgrade this to something, or not? And the other two officials need to come in and give a full response to that, not, something like, yeah, I'm good with, just tell me what you saw. If I ask you, then I want you to tell me, what did you see on this play? Do you feel like we should upgrade it and why? Or do you feel like we should keep it where it is and why? Because in this particular play, Quinn would like to argue. Well, I don't think he wants to argue it, but Quinn says, "Hey, it could be that five just got, he was going to just sort of throw the guy off, like you sometimes see a guy's got inferior position. He's going to throw him off kind of to the side and get past him to get to the rebounding position, and he stumbles and loses his balance, and it just looks a whole lot worse than it actually was." And that's fine. If that's what an official comes in and says, hey, I saw that play, yes, and here's what happened. No, we do not need to upgrade, in my opinion. Then fine. But if somebody comes into this conversation and says, I'm tell you what happened here. Yeah, I had a good look at this play. Five wraps the guy and just throws him down to the ground for no good reason whatsoever. He makes no play on the ball, makes no play to rebound. If he did not make a basketball play, I feel like we need to upgrade this to an intentional foul. If either one of the two officials says that, then the conversation should be, in my opinion, over. And that's the protocol that I would like for us to adhere to the extent that we have it in the past. It's what I expect in going forward. It always looks bad. We don't need to spend a lot of time with this. We don't want to get into a monitor situation where somebody's standing in the monitor for 15 minutes. Just provide the information that you have. If you don't have any information, you say, hey, I'm sorry, I got straight line on that play, did not have a good look at it all, I can't help you. Fine. That's what I need to know. I don't know that that's fine, but that's what I need to know. But anyhow, this to me is not a basketball play. And Quinn is going to talk a little bit, maybe post something just as a reminder on intentional fouls. There's two types of intentional fouls, and one involves excessive contact. Now, I'm not concerned about excessive contact on this play. The way I'm judging this play is, this is not a basketball play. He just grabs the guy and throws him down to the ground. I don't care what the game has looked like up to this point. I don't care what kind of game it is. I don't care what the score is. I don't care where we are in the game time-wise. In any game, in my judgment, in any game, at any level, this could be ruled an intentional foul if we had a good enough look at it to make that assessment. Well, I feel like that was a pretty good rant. Gwen, should I just stop and turn it back over to you?
Let me add something. You can gather up a little more steam. When we have atypical plays, intentional fouls being one kind of atypical play or possible intentional fouls, it's often helpful, right? The things are hectic, the temperature is going up, and that's when we've got to calm down and slow down. And I think it's really helpful to do that when you personally have a process. So I know when I have an intentional foul or something I think could possibly be an intentional foul, I have a process. So I want to get together with the crew. If I have the foul, I want to tell my partners what I know, and I want to tell them what I don't know and would like more information about. So if I'm the calling official here, I want to come in and say, hey, by the time I came to this play late, but by the time I got there, I've got number 5 has, whatever the player in white is, I've got him wrapped up, and they're already falling backwards. I don't really know. I don't know how that happened. I just know that I've got this player wrapped around this player falling down. Okay. So I've got a foul. I know I've got a foul on red 5, but I don't. That's all I have. Can either of you give me information about how they got there? Okay. And again, to Chuck's point, the answer may be no. And if the answer is no, then we're just going to stick with the common foul. If the answer is yes, okay, well, what is it? Well, he grabbed him, he wraps him up, and then he ripped him to the side and down. Okay, so based on what you're telling me, that sounds to me like excessive. It sounds like unnecessary contact, not a basketball play. Um, Based on what you're saying, I think we should upgrade to an intentional foul. Do you agree with that? Yes, no, whatever. Okay. If they say, yeah, Chuck's what Chuck said, which sort of another possible argument I could see here as well. Maybe they got wrapped up, in part of a normal basketball play, and then he got tripped up, and we'll share that information then, right? So as a calling official, I want to sort of lead this conversation in terms of here's what I know and here's what I don't know. Can you fill in any of the details that I don't know? And then based off that, we've got to decide whether to upgrade or not. But if we have a process in mind, and if you take this opportunity to watch this play and think about what you want your process to be, then when these atypical plays happen, we go, okay, we've got an atypical play, it's an intentional foul. Now we just have to work the process. And it's not a big deal because we've already thought about how we're going to handle this. And handling these sort of plays is the way you advance, whatever advance means to you, whether that's you're working high school and you want to work college, whether it's you're working, 5 games and you want to work 10, or you just want to work better games, or what we really should all strive for is we just want to be better. Thinking through process of these sorts of atypical plays before they happen is one way to help slow everything down when these things do happen.
That's good. And, I said that I went on a rant. I really didn't go on a rant. And I don't want anybody to think that I don't feel like the crew did a good job here. A great job of great no call there. Great job of staying with this late closeout. Great job of picking this foul up. And the crew, I think, does get together and briefly have a discussion. But this is not, I just want to emphasize the reason I picked this clip up is to emphasize 2 things, one of which Quinn sort of hit on early. Lead officials, let's remember, width is our friend normally. Width is our friend. I think that we've gotten too into closing down when we don't need to close down, or staying closed down when we need to get our width back. Let's make sure that we use width as an ally, as a lead official. And then crew communication on play. I want us to have a clear understanding of what the protocol should be on a play like this in terms of crew communication. And one last thing I want to really emphasize here, it's really important. When we have this discussion, like Quinn indicated, the type of discussion that Quinn indicated we should have, before we say anything else, the first thing that we should do in a high school basketball game is say, okay, guys, I have a foul on 5 red. And if we're in the bonus, our shooter is going to be whoever it is. And then 21, and then have your conversation about what you're going to do with this foul. Because if you have the conversation and then maybe there's some other things that you need to do, and maybe you need to communicate with the coach who's blah, 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 it's going to be very, very easy to forget who you called the foul, who committed the foul. And it's going to be even easier to forget who your shooter's supposed to be. So the first thing you should do is make sure the crew is aware of who the foul's on, and who the shooter is going to be if we're in a shooting foul situation, in a bonus situation here. Or if we're going to upgrade it to an intentional foul, who the shooter is going to be. The college guys, they have a little bit easier because if I'm not mistaken, they can go to the monitor to give them help on those kinds of questions. But we don't have that. Once we've lost track of who the shooter is or lost track of who the foul is on, we're in trouble. So make sure you do that. That should be just standard operating procedure on these types of plays. Quinn, I think I've hit on everything that I'd like our staff to keep in mind as we move forward here. Do you have anything else you want to add in closing?
No, I think it's all great stuff.
Fantastic. Thanks, everybody. And let's have a great last couple, 2 or 3 weeks. And then we'll start getting ready for the next season. It'll be on us before we even know it.